Hi guys, it's Mike and thanks for joining me on this CSS video, and today we're going to learn about centering block elements horizontally, and the image on the right hand side with the blue, orange and lilac boxes, that's what we're going to code, and they will be centered in our browser. So how cool is that? So let's get coding. So as usual, on the left hand side I've got my text editor, on the right hand side I've got the browser, and I'm just going to refresh, and everything, this is what we'll see on our screen once we have written the HTML, which is highlighted here. So let's have a look at it. First, within the body there's a header section with an H1 saying center horizontally. Then we have a section, okay, closed section, and within that section we have a div with a class of all boxes and an ID of box. Then within the div there's a paragraph tag with first. There you go. Below the section we've got another div, class all boxes, ID box 2, and the paragraph tag saying second. And then we have a third div with a class of all boxes, ID of box 3, and within that there's a paragraph tag saying third. So that's where we're getting our sort of browser information so far. So let's start with our CSS. So first things first, let's get rid of that horrible font, and we've already looked at font families. So I'm going to target the root element, or HTML, and add font family, and we'll just go for Arial for now. But at least it'll make it look pretty rather than that horrible one with feet. So there we go, we've got our Arial font. So the next thing I want to do, I want to target this class of all boxes, and effectively doing this using dot all boxes is going to affect whatever we code in here is going to affect the 3 boxes. So first let's go for a width of 200 pixels, then a height of 200 pixels. So each of the boxes is going to be that. Each box is going to have a font color of, let's go white, and let's give it some padding as well, just to get the font away from the size of the box. So padding 10 pixels. So there we go. So that's going to affect all 3 boxes. And now let's target target sort of H1 first. Okay, so let's get H1, which is an inline. It's an inline element. So H1, and if we want to center align that, we type text align center, American spelling, and I've hit save. I'm going to refresh into 1 now, and all of a sudden we've got center horizontally, that's the H1, that's centered in our browser. If I make the browser big, it's always centered, that's nice. And what also has happened, well, we gave all boxes a color of white. The boxes are still there, it's just that we can't see the font because it's white on a white background. Next, let's look at our first box, and it has a parent element of section. That's important to remember, and here's what we want to center, and it's got an ID of box. So coming up to our CSS, if it's an ID, we want to go hashtag box, and if you're looking for the hashtag on a Mac, it's option 3 or option +3. If it's on a Windows machine, it's off towards the enter key. So box, we will give it a background color there's a nice blue that I often use, and it's called Dodger Blue. Dodger, not Didger. Dodger Blue. And the next thing, let's just save and see what's happening. Oh, and here we go. We've got this blue box. We can see the white word first, and we've got Dodger Blue. So let's see what happens if we go text align. Center, American spelling, and hopefully the blue box will ping over into the center. Ah, no, it hasn't. But what has happened is the word first has gone to the center. Okay, so that is not working. So in this instance, what we have to do is target the parent. And if we just come down to the HTML, we can see the parent is the section. So back to our CSS, and because the H1 is also text center, I'm going to type comma section, which will also be text centered or text align centered. And now what we need to do is go to the box again, hashtag box, background color Dodger Blue, and type display inline hyphen block and semicolon. So hopefully that's center aligned this box. So I've saved, I'm refreshing in 2, 1 now, hey, boom, and doing it this way has centered the box. So what we did, we targeted the parent with text align center, and then we went for the element itself with display inline block. Okay, so that's the first way of centering a block element, and let's go for another one. So this one has no parent. Okay, so that's the big difference between the two. So hashtag box 2. You're getting this. You're getting good. Okay, so hashtag box 2, and we'll give it a background color. I'm going to copy Dodger Blue just to be lazy. Command V, and let's go for orange just to break it out so we can see what we're doing. So I've hit save, refresh, 2, 1 now, and there's the orange box. So in this instance, because the orange box does not have a parent, what we can simply do is type margin, colon, 0 for, that's top and bottom, and auto for left and right. So I've hit save, and 3, 2, 1, refresh, and there we go. We've got our block element that's not in a parent, and we've centered it by using margin 0 auto. Okay, and the third and final way, so option plus 3 for hashtag, and this is box 3, and curly braces as usual. And in this instance, what we're going to do is give it a background color. So I'm going to be lazy again. I'm going to copy background color and give this a name of violet, which will give it a pretty purple color. And you'll remember from the previous video when we did positioning. So we looked at static, if you remember, then relative and absolute and fixed. Well, we're going to use that method here. So in this instance, I'm going to type position. We're going to give it an absolute property. There we go, position absolute. And effectively, we want, I'm going to hit save and then refresh just to show you what's happening. So we can see this this box, and it's pushed out over on the left-hand side right now. Okay, so effectively, what we want is it to be halfway across the screen. So with position absolute, I'm going to ask it to go left by 50%, so put it in the middle of the screen. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Now what do you think is going to happen? refreshing 2, 1 now. Oh, blast, what's happened? Okay, so it's gone across the screen. However, you remember from the previous video is that absolute puts the top left-hand corner of the block element in the center. So what we need to do is play around with this, because we want to give it a negative margin off to the left-hand side, just to push the box that way. So let's into our CSS margin left. That's the way we would want to push it, and we need to give it a negative value. So what sort of value are we thinking about doing? So it's got a width of 200, so effectively we want to push it 100 pixels to the left. Is this going to be right? I'm going to hit save. I'm going to go 3, let's just get rid of that, 3, 2, 1, refresh. Oh, and you can see there's a tiny little overlap. So what have we forgotten? Okay, and what we have not included is the padding. Okay, so what we need to do now is go back to our margin left minus 100 and call it minus 110. Hit save, coming over to the browser, refresh 3, 2, 1 now, boom, there you go. So there is 3 ways of centering things, in fact 4 ways, because we centered the heading as well. So the heading used text align center. The blue box, what we had to do was text align center its parent, so the section, and then add display inline block. The second one doesn't have a parent, the orange one. Okay, so there's the orange one, and what we did in this instance is give it a margin 0 top, auto left and right. And then finally, for the third box, the pretty violet one, we used position absolute. We gave it a left margin, effectively, or position from the left at 50%, and then had to adjust it with a margin left to push the top left-hand corner back to a value of the width of the box plus the padding. So that's nice. So let's just have a look on the right-hand side again. What's the difference? Well, if you look at the blue box, the text is also centered. So that was hashtag box highlighted in my code. So what I'm going to do, because I want all the text on the left, is in this instance type text align instead of center, which is on the parent. I've gone text align left just here under hashtag box. Hit save, and 3, 2, 1 refresh, and you can see now that the word first is left aligned, just like the words second and third. So let's have a look at the learning objectives. Well, there's only one, to understand how to center block elements horizontally, and I've shown you 3 methods. Now, newer CSS technology that's been around a couple of years now, there's you've probably heard of Flex, and you may have heard of CSS Grid. They are both good at centering things. And I haven't covered those now because the vanilla CSS that we've just used works on every browser, even the old browsers such as Internet Explorer 8 and below. Now, what we need to consider is our users of older browsers, and if we use Flex or CSS Grid, not all older browsers support that technology right now. So this is why I've just covered the vanilla CSS, so to speak. So my name is Mike, thanks for listening, and I'm at littlegreyhair.com. So please share, please like, please subscribe.